Do you sometimes feel limited by the current library of brushes that Procreate has to offer? Are you looking to expand your library with more textural options? Today I would like to show you a new marker brush pack that I've spent some time creating especially for Procreate. Plus, we're going to be creating one of the marker brushes from my library in this video. So grab your iPad, your Apple Pencil, and let's start scribbling. Alright, so after spending quite some time researching on alcohol markers and about their characteristics and what they can do, there were three things that I knew that I wanted to have in these brushes. One is that these markers usually come in a few different tip shapes. So I've created a round, a thin, and a flat marker brush. The second thing is that these markers can vary a lot in their condition. So some could be brand new, while others may feel like they've been mangled for hours by a 3-year-old art child. So I've created not one but 4 variations on each brush. A light version, a heavy version, referring to a brand new marker pen, a dry version, the marker that you usually find at the bottom of your drawer 5 years later, a damaged version, the one that you let your 3-year-old nephew play for like 2 minutes, and now unfortunately is just like that. The third and last thing that I knew that I wanted to have in these marker brushes is their behavior. If you ever use marker brushes in real life, you probably know that continuous darkening effect that happens once you start stacking up your brush strokes on top of your previous ones. This effect is also here in this brush set and in all of the brush shapes, giving you more realism as you finish your illustrations. Also in this brush pack, I am bundling up a fine black marker pen for outlines that behaves in many ways just like the real life one does, a few options for paper textures for that final finishing quality and added realism, and a huge set of ready-to-go color palettes that you can easily import into Procreate and access by hue, import them all, or pick and choose your favorite ones. And if you follow the timestamps in the description box as well, you can find the section here in the video where we create one of these brushes step by step. So what is the best way to use these brushes? I'm going to show you a couple examples here. Let's start with this red tiger illustration first. After getting my sketch done on a separate layer, we're going to use the round marker heavy and a decent size to start making the fills. Keep in mind that these brushes don't work quite so well with color dropping on shapes or areas that you want to fill. They are really intended for you to use them just like real life markers with continuous brush strokes on paper. That's why it's important to not start with a super small brush size, especially if you need to cover a larger area. Keep working on each color at a time, making sure not to lift up the tip of your Apple Pencil from the canvas until you clear each area. Reserve the stacking up effect to areas where you would like to add more shading, such as the neck or the eyebrow area here in this character, for example. As you can see, the idea here is to have somewhat loose brush strokes, without using any clipping masks or layer masks to constrict the colors or shapes so that you can get a more natural look and feel to your illustration. Top it off by using one of the provided paper textures in this brush set, set the blending mode to linear light and the opacity to about 30%, and you get these really nice subtle clumps of marker paint here in some areas, as you can see especially in the dark areas of this picture. Here's another example, but this time I've used the fine ink pen in order to give a finished outline work for my marker fills. For the marker brush, I've used the flat marker light in order to get these really nice pastel colors from my brush strokes. Once again, everything should move freely here, not really minding if the brush strokes go a little bit outside of the edges of the fine pen. It's important to still use the technique of filling up whole areas before you lift your Apple Pencil from the canvas. Then, using the stacking up effect technique, we can add shading to the right side of each illustration. The end result can look quite natural, especially if you top it off by using another one of the provided paper textures. Now here on screen I have one final example. This one took me the most time to complete, but is one of those production rendering examples that can be done with markers in real life. We can see this kind of illustration in professional work, fashion work, and etc. In this one, I'm using the thin marker heavy brush to be a bit more careful with my boundary edges, while also making sure that my colors are blending as well. The trick on getting this effect right in this case is to play with multiple layers and play with the opacity of each layer as you go. Once again, finishing this illustration by using paper textures as the very top layer and a linear blend mode can really take this to the next level. So now let's create one of the brushes in this library. Again, if you like to skip this whole creation section You can find all of the brushes, color palettes, and paper textures in the link in the description box of this video. We're going to be creating the round marker light version here. Let's start by creating a new default brush here in Procreate by tapping on the little plus sign on the top of the brush library panel. Starting on stroke path, make sure to set the spacing to about 10%. The rest of the sliders here should be set to none. On taper, make sure that things are turned off and look just like what we have here on screen. Because as we know, markers don't have all that pressure that you can apply, since the tips of the markers are for the most part made with harder felt tip materials. On shape source, first we're going to tap on the edit button here at the very top. Then we're going to select import, choose source library, and we're going to find medium hard. Check the randomized option, and at the very bottom make sure that you're using improved filtering. On the grain section, tap once again on edit, then choose import, source library, but this time find the texture named Wash Wash 2. Then hit done at the very top right side of the UI. Now copy the settings that you see here on screen. The moving behavior, the rolling movement, the scale of 65%, and zoom as cropped. Make sure to use maximum depth, blending mode to multiply, and as a grain filtering, make sure that you're also used improved filtering. On the rendering section, make sure that you're using intense glaze, setting the flow to 50% and both of the blending modes at the bottom set to multiply. Also make sure that luminance blending is set to on. On wet mix, please copy the values that you see here on screen and pause the video at any time if necessary. We're going to skip color dynamics and go straight into dynamics here. And once again, copy the values that you see on screen, and the same goes as well for the Apple Pencil settings. Finally, on properties, this is the last page where you want to copy the values that you see here on screen. Once again, pause the video if necessary. Then you can just tap on done, and that's it. You just created your first marker brush that has beautiful feeling of the continuous burn effect by stacking up those brush strokes. So that's it for this video, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed, and if you did, a like would be super appreciated, as well as make sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell notification icon so that you always get more videos, tutorials, reviews, and all the content that will help to make you a better digital illustrator. Now on the right side of the screen, there's also always more content for you guys to watch. One is my latest upload, and the other one is a video that YouTube is recommending you to check it out. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you on the next one. Ciao.